I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at the pretty village of Upton Grey in Hampshire. It's about 5 miles south of Basingstoke and 8 miles north of Alton. And we're going to be walking a roughly 5-mile circular route, starting with a look around the village before heading across some rolling farmland, woods and tracks to the pretty settlements of Weston Patrick and Weston Corbett, with some exploring to do there, and then back to Upton Grey. Now I'm filming in the middle of May. It's a glorious late spring day. The sun is out, there's hardly any wind. Beautiful conditions for a walk. Do come along with us. Well, before we head out into the countryside, we'll start off our walk with a little wander through the village, starting with the pub that's just behind me here. It's the Hoddington Arms. Originally it was called the Horseshoe Inn, built in the late 18th century. It was originally 2 cottages. Apparently there was a brewery in the village in the 1860s, and I've actually parked in their car park, and this will be our final destination. Wow, isn't this delightful? The village pond. I see there's some ducks out there. There's many photos of this you can see from the past on the internet, and it's a very important part of the village, as I can't see the fact that there's a river that goes through the village, so this may well have been one of the main water sources. But isn't that beautiful? And I love the white timber frame building behind with the wisteria. Quite gorgeous. And this is the village hall, which was built on the site of an old boys' school in 1925 and extended in 1997 to make room for a village shop. It's been used today as a feed station. I think there's some sort of cycle race going on. That all looks rather tempting, doesn't it? But what a gorgeous village, full of quite exquisite properties, houses, thatched cottages, and a lot of the gardens so well presented, and in the morning sunshine certainly at their best. Look at this up here, Mead Cottage. Wow, it really is quite stunning. Well, just as we make our way towards the church, I'll tell you a bit about the village. There's evidence that earliest human occupation was around here, well, prehistoric times and Stone Age, and also there are Bronze Age mounds nearby, and there's a Roman road that crosses through the village, which we will see later. But the present village was formed from 2 Saxon manors: Upton Manor, which is a sort of the northern side of the road, and Hoddington Manor on the south side. And the Grey bit was from the years when it was owned by the de Grey family, which I think was added in the 13th century. I think there's about 600 residents today. And this is St Mary's Church. Now, there's been a church in the village for over 1,000 years, but the present nave and Norman arch date to about 1120, and the chancel dates to the 1200s. And subsequent additions include the tower in 1690, the north aisle in 1715, and the vestry in 1909. I think it's got 5 bells. And as you can see, unless you weren't aware of it, the coronation took place recently. Well, I'm filming on a Sunday morning, and I think there's a service going on inside the church, so I'm not going to be able to show you any pictures there. Next to the church is this magnificent building. I think it's called the Manor House. Again, it's very private, so I won't show any pictures. I'll maybe show a couple of tiny bits of it, because there's a lovely sort of timber framed aspect to it. But I believe it's 15th century, and it's got a garden that was designed and planted by Gertrude Jekyll. And then on the other side from the church there's Upton Grey House, which dates from the late 18th century. Again, I won't take any photos because it's all private. Oh, what a quite charming village. Okay, we're now going to head out into the countryside by initially heading southwards It's quite a warm day, but we've got plenty of water for both myself and Logan. Now I think the building through there, which I can just about glimpse, is Hoddington House, which was built around about 1700 on the site of a religious house called Endinon. I don't know how you pronounce that. It was a type of monastery initially, before being leased out in the 16th century to a farmer, and we're actually in Hoddington Park. Wow, a little pit stop just to look back at the village and some of the scenery. It really is, I say, this time of year, well, the field in front of me obviously has been ploughed over, but in the background, vivid green, everything very, very lush and fresh, because all the trees are now in full leaf. It's a great time of year to be out and about, and this is looking over to the west. I've just noticed on the map we're passing by a disused pit, and gosh, yes, certainly there's a fairly steep drop down there. I guess it's an old chalk pit, I should imagine, years gone by. And yes, you can see the the face of it over there. Just looking back north, taking in this view again. It looks as though they've planted a row of hawthorn along there. It's out in flower by the looks of things at the moment. It's lovely. Well, I've just come off this track that we've been following, and now looks like we're about to go into a little woodland section, and this is called Privett Copse, and it's going to lead us into Little Park Copse. It'll be quite nice to get some shade as well. Well, I tell you, it's so peaceful in here. All I can hear the birds twittering away, and can you see through under those branches, lovely display of bluebells. They're just about hanging on in there with their colour. Well, this looks like it's the boundary between the two copses. I might be totally wrong, but it reminds me of the New Forests, when you get these sort of enclosure banks between two enclosures, and in the old days there would have been a wooden palisade on top. So I might be wrong, but that's what it looks like from here. And there's a little, looks like a ditch on one side. Well, I was enthusing about the bluebells earlier on, but I think this is an even better display through here. And you get this lovely dapple shade effect with the foliage from the trees above. Quite beautiful. Well, we've come out of those quite delightful copses and, well, something completely different, folks. Footpath takes us across this crop, and, well, if it wasn't for the electricity pylons, this would make for a lovely view. Let's just ignore them and imagine they're not there. There's a very colourful field of oilseed rape catching the sun over there. We're just about to drop down into the little village of Weston Patrick. In fact, there are two settlements side by side, the other being the hamlet of Weston Corbett on the northern side of a road that actually splits them. They're not specifically mentioned in the Domesday Book, so they were probably included in the manor of Odium, but the name basically comes from the 13th century owner Patrick de Chaworth. It's probably more famous for the fact that TV gardening presenter Monty Don grew up here. You can probably just see behind me a delightful little church. Let's have a look at that. It's the Church of St Lawrence, and it dates from the 12th century, but the present building reflects substantial restoration in 1868, and the only remaining part that dates from the Norman period now is the north doorway. The church was rebuilt, as I say, in 1868 in Gothic revival style by Thomas Wyatt, who actually is buried in the churchyard. The previous church was run down, and it comprises of a nave, chancel, a bell turret, which I think's got one bell, a south aisle, a vestry and a porch. There's a single broached spire on the west end. As you can see, the exterior walls are flint dressed in stone. Right, let's have a little look inside. Lovely and cool. There's the font just on my right. Oh, some beautiful stained glass windows here, and just up there, it's not quite a rose window, but a similar type. Beautiful church. A rather magnificent pulpit on my left, and there's the organ. And wow, what about this for a stained glass window above the altar? And wow, the wooden panelling with the stars in the ceiling of the chancel. It's really quite an enchanting church. And just to the east of the church is the manor house, and parts of that date to the 16th century, with additions in the 17th, 18th and 19th centuries. But it's basically a large timber-framed house. Well, it is a really pretty little village full of delightful houses. And this building here is actually the old village hall, and it dates to the 17th or 18th century, and it originally was a farm building and then a school, and it was recorded as a church school in 1876. The school closed in 1917 and was given to the village, and it's been the village hall since 1926. Wow, what a beautiful tree. I love those flowers. I feel I should know what this is, but I don't. I'll have to look it up when I get back. It really is quite stunning. Well, I'm just about to cross over the road and head into Weston Corbett. There's only a few houses and a couple of farms here today. It did have a church in 1305, but that was in ruins by the 16th century and nothing of it remains today. The site may have been north of Manor Farm. But there was first reference of a Western Corbett in 1224 when the land belonged to the Crown and then was held by Thomas Corbett. Was a quick update on the route. We've left Western Corbett and we're now heading northwards, very much on the homeward leg, although we've got a fair bit of walking still to do. Well, I know sometimes scenery doesn't come across all that well on a GoPro, but take it from me, this really is quite stunning. And this is a field that we've come through, the footpath that went through. Just having a little bit of a breather. It was an uphill bit, but you know, if you could just bottle this up, it would be something. Well, it really is a beautiful time of year. You see the cowslips here on the bank, and looks like sort of forget-me-nots as well intermixed with them. So the colours are superb today. Continuing to make our way northwards. Beautiful property here, Dower Farmhouse. I don't think this appears on an 1896 map, but Dower House appears on a 1958 map but shows as Weston Corbett Place, so I'm guessing this is all relatively new. I'm not 100% sure, but it's lovely whatever. I can't get over this weather, it really is quite glorious. Now, although I haven't seen any waymarkers confirming this, I'm pretty sure we're now on the Three Castles path, which is a 60-mile long distance path that goes from Winchester all the way up to Windsor via Odium, and it's sort of based on the 13th century travels of King John. Well folks, according to an old map, there was once a Roman road that crossed over this field, and it was the road from Chichester in West Sussex to Silchester, and is north of Basingstoke. And although it was only 39 miles long, it was only discovered apparently in 1949. But well, I know some Roman roads are hard to make out, but you wouldn't know just by looking at this field where it's obviously been ploughed over the centuries. Well, we're very much on our last little section now on a bridleway heading south back towards Upton Grey, and I'm looking forward to my first pint already. One final pit stop just to look back at this wonderful sea of green. All the crops really coming through now. It won't be long till we're at the height of the summer. But days like this, quite magical. Well, just a little heads up for anybody that might be doing this walk after watching the video. This is the bridleway coming back into Upton Grey, and you might think you would just sort of follow the bridleway round, but what you need to do is just carry on heading southwards and look out for this way marker for a footpath here. It's very easy to miss by the rhododendrons. So we're going to follow this little footpath here, which should take us on a better way back. But I say, if you do carry on by mistake down the farm track, it does look as though there's a big red notice telling you it's Privett. Oh, an amazing display of flowers along that row of chestnut trees. Isn't it wonderful? Well, sorry about this, folks, but I'm going to slip another view in just as we come into the village. With the birds twittering in the background and butterflies among this crop of beans, I think it is. So much colour out there, all different shades of green. Oh, rather cute little seating area underneath some thatch there, just by the footpath as I'm going along. Indeed, just along here there's this wall. I think behind this wall are the gardens of the manor house, the gardens that were planted by Gertrude Jekyll that I mentioned right at the beginning. Well, folks, we've come to the end of our walk, made it to the Hoddington Arms. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. So until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. I think this could be a 2-pint stop. How could I forget? It's crisp time.